Hi drummers, hope you're well. Right, 1 minute drum lesson, here we go. Moving your feet on the drums 101. This is an absolute fundamental, classic, basic thing. But it's quite interesting. I think doing the sessions that I do, for tons of people, of course, this would be completely obvious and straightforward. For a lot of people, it isn't actually. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to play bass drum and then hi-hat with our feet. Let's call those eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're going to stay on that all the way. We're then going to play single strokes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So 16th notes, single stroke roll. So if you're right-handed, this is going to go right stick with the bass drum, left stick on its own, right stick with a hi-hat, left stick on its own. 1 E and a, 2 E and a. Now for my money, this is one of the central, absolute core, I would say, like handful of things you absolutely need up and running on the drums. Because for me, in my opinion, in my experience, from this basis, so many amazing things can develop. You've got your rolls. You can start to place accents in those. Things like a train beat. Things like a bow diddly. Things like a soca. I don't know, a suku. Even a samba. All these things and plenty of others lead from that basic beginning. And again, I just can't repeat enough. It's just, for me, such a core fundamental that I lean on again and again. Almost every day, someone sends me a message or writes a comment on one of these videos saying, how do I play drum solos? Can you tell me about how to play drum solos? This is a brilliant, solid, basic foundation for a solo. If you can play, again, a single stroke roll as, say, 16ths with that bass drum and hi-hat playing underneath. 1 E and a, 2 E and a. It's not complicated at all, but it does work. And just, again, even people who've been playing the drums for a long time, I often find they come in for the sessions and this basic, again, moving your feet 101 skill, which appears at grade 1 in Trinity drums, in that case it's quarter notes with your feet and eighth notes with your sticks, but the same idea. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm going to show you again to repeat because people often are confused by this when they're starting off on the drums. 1 and 2 and, so here I'm playing these as eighth notes, and 4 and. Along with this, I'm going to play a single stroke roll. That's one stick then the other. I said 1 minute drum lesson at the start, didn't I? It's going to be longer. And then we're going to play 16th notes, right, left, over the top. 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So some reference points that might be helpful that people often come unstuck with. At the beginning, the right stick, if you're right-handed, and the right foot will land together. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a. Another reference point is the foot action, both your right and your left foot, only coincides with the right stick if you're right-handed. Right, left, bass drum, hi-hat, bass drum, hi-hat. So if you take the left stick away, just this, right? Bass drum, hi-hat. Put the left stick back in, 1 E and a. Often with beginners and people just getting started with this skill, they often find that they'll flip it somehow. Often people will play not a single stroke roll on the snare drum and get a bit, they'll play a double or play a version of a paradiddle or something. Stick with single strokes at first, that's my advice. Often people flip it completely, end up starting with a left stick, which isn't the end of the world, by the way, if that's a conscious decision and you're going to go with that. But my default advice would be, if you're right-handed, start with your right stick. If you're left-handed, start with your left stick. And you're looking to get to this point. And what I would really, really suggest, I say this to everybody, is just put on some music that you love. And even when you're away from the drum kit, in fact, especially when you're away from the drum kit, people always say, well, I can't get to my kit. I'm away traveling. I'm doing this. I'm too busy. Especially when you're away from the kit, what I do is stick in one ear of my headphones, right? And just with some music that I like at a reasonable tempo, I just do this, right? Playing the drums at this sort of level is basically just moving your hands and your feet, isn't it? So just going 1 and 2 and right, left, and then going 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and If you need to, and it's totally cool to do this, just do a little bit of programming it in at first. If you're doing that thing of saying, oh, I'm struggling with this, I don't know why I can't get this, I'm finding this hard, please give this thing some respect. It does take some time to get this off the ground for everybody. I know it seems like a basic starting point, but just all the same, give it some time. Just deploy some patience and work at it. It will get easier. Nothing to do with your age, by the way. People always say, well, I'm 50 years old, I'm 60 years old, I'm 70 years old, I'm 80 years old. I don't care. My oldest student was 84 when he started. He got this in no time. Why? Because he rehearsed it, he practiced it. He was specific. He was deliberate. He repeated it. He was patient. He was deliberate. He just went at it in the right way. So 1 and 2 and right, left. Now the hands. 1 E and 2 E and no, what I was saying was, if you want to, just be really specific and go one event at a time. There are 4 events in total: the right hand and the right foot, the left hand on its own, the right hand and the left foot, and the left hand on its own. Again, same thing: right hand and right foot, left hand on its own, right hand and left foot, left hand on its own. Truth of it is, a large number of people, just in my experience, no criticism of anybody, I'm sure I'd be exactly the same, simply don't do that. They just try to go faster straight away. They simply just bypass the bit where they actually learn it. Take your time, program it in. Once you can get to this point, once you can trust your hands and your feet to go, sorry, I obviously can't trust mine. Once you can trust your hands and your feet to do this, then you're in business. Everybody loves that bow diddly beat. People come into my studio all the time. They say, I want to learn this bow diddly beat. They say, I can do it with my hands. And they always say exactly the same phrase. I don't know why. When I put the feet in, it all falls apart. I don't know why. You're not entitled to just play it. You build it bit at a time. This is the starting point. If you can play, it doesn't matter what drum you're playing, but if you can play, well, then what we'll often do in a session is just loop it, and you start adding the accents in one at a time. So if you think of the bow diddly, let's call it a 16th note thing. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and accent on the 1 E and 2 E and accent on the 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and and you roll that till you got it. Then the next accent on the and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and so on, working up to 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4. 1 and 3 and 4. 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4. Which, by all accounts, by the way, according to the man himself, is how you play the bow diddly beat on drums. You play boom, chip with your feet. Now, people say the same thing. I think people do get confused. They say, when I bring in the bass drum and hi-hat, it all falls apart. You have to build it. You have to spend quality time repeating and giving this thing respect and patience and building up. Like, this is the starting point. You don't just magically do it out of nowhere. Like this myth of like talented people who just sit down and magically put together correct coordinated parts straight away. It's not the case. You build the thing, right? This is the start. 1 E and E and 3. It doesn't matter if you're playing the floor tom or the snare drum, or like I was talking about earlier, you're not even at the kit. This is where you got to start. Left, right, left. Bass drum, hi-hat. Grade 1. Repeat. Just put on some music that you love and just play that without the accents over and over again till you can trust your hands and feet to go boom, chat, dum, chat, chat, and then you're away. I would say that is one of the very, very small handful of core skills on the drums if you want to play contemporary music, and physical skill, just coordination, and getting your feet involved. That is what I would consider 101. I hope that makes sense. Shout out to David and everyone else who's working on that sort of stuff. Don't underestimate it. I know it seems like a really basic thing. It's frequently and all over the place, in my experience, my opinion, overlooked. So please take some time with that. Notation and practice along version on the channel members page. As ever, if you want to support this channel, please consider doing so. It's via my Buy Me a Coffee support page, where you can buy me a coffee. Thanks a million to all the lovely people who do that, or become a channel member for a personalised practice plan, complimentary Zoom session, a whole load of other benefits, including all the supporting material for these videos and loads more. Cheers.